Hello, my name is Shakti, and today I will talk to you about my Shakti Yoga Nidra called A Peaceful Transition Crossing into the Light of Presence. It was born from a sacred moment in my own life. I created it when my mother-in-law was in hospice. She was suffering deeply, and I wanted to support her transition with as much grace and comfort as possible. After hearing this Yoga Nidra, she passed within 2 hours. It felt like a miracle. Her passing was peaceful and gentle. And since then, this special Yoga Nidra has helped others transition with the same softness, ease, and blessing. It's a sacred support for those nearing the threshold between life in the body and life beyond the body. It guides the loved one into an inner clarity where they can release the layers of identity that the ego has carried throughout their entire lifetime. These layers form emotional, mental, and energetic imprints that can create fear about letting go, fear about leaving their loved ones, fear about losing the familiar world they have known, and fear about stepping into what the mind cannot imagine. In this practice, they receive a gentle pathway for dissolving those layers so they can rest in the presence that has always held them, long before birth and long after death. This transition is one of the most tender moments a human can move through because the ego has been conditioned to grip life, to cling to the physical body, to attach to the relationships, and to believe that safety comes from form. The deeper truth is that safety comes from presence, and this meditation helps them return to this inner stability where peace arises from within rather than from anything external. This return to presence dissolves the boundaries that their ego has placed around identity, revealing the deeper continuity of being. As they move into this practice, the breath softens, the body relaxes, and the mind becomes quiet enough for the deeper intelligence of the energy body to reveal itself. This intelligent living life force carries them beyond fear and into trust. By resting in this depth, they begin to feel that they are not entering unknown darkness, but are returning to a loving radiance that has been present all along, waiting beneath the layers of the ego, the memory, and conditioning. Fear of death does not arise from the soul because the soul knows the continuity of its own existence. Fear arises from the ego, which identifies with the body, memories, roles, and relationships. Over a lifetime, the ego collects emotional imprints, unresolved experiences, and protective reactions. These gather in the energy body as layers, and each layer creates a sense of contraction. These contractions form the emotional memory stress that makes them afraid of letting go of the body, their loved ones, and the life. This meditation gently unravels these layers. It helps their awareness settle beneath the movements of the mind, where the energy body can release tension and return to its natural harmony. When fear loosens, the body relaxes more deeply and the breath becomes softer. This softness opens the channel between the individual self and the universal presence that has always been within. When this connection strengthens, the experience of the unknown becomes a gateway rather than a threat. Most fear arises because the ego believes it is separate. Separation creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates resistance. As these layers of separation dissolve, a profound reassurance emerges. They begin to sense that nothing is being left behind. They are simply shifting from one expression of existence to another, carried entirely by the same presence that breathes them now. One of the strongest fears at the time of transition is the fear of leaving loved ones. This fear does not come from the true self, because the true self is connected beyond time and space. It comes from the ego's belief that connection depends on physical presence. As long as their ego holds this belief, they feel responsible to protect guide, or remain close to the people they love. This attachment creates emotional bindings in the energy body that can make transition feel difficult or frightening. This practice offers a compassionate way to release these bindings. As they enter deep stillness, they feel that their loved ones are held by the same presence that holds them. They no longer feel that they must remain in the body in order to ensure the safety or well-being of those they love. They begin to see that love does not depend on form. Love is carried in presence, and presence is eternal. When they release the body, their love remains connected in a more expansive and peaceful way than before. Through this practice, they feel the truth that letting go does not mean losing anyone. Letting go simply means releasing the body's limited way of loving so that love can flow from the deeper place of the soul. This shift brings peace to them and peace to those left behind because the transition becomes a blessing rather than a wound. Fear of the unknown arises because the ego cannot imagine what lies beyond the body. It fears what it cannot control. This practice dissolves this fear of guiding them into the direct experience of external nature. When they feel themselves as awareness rather than as a person or a body, the unknown becomes familiar. It becomes spacious, peaceful, and welcoming. This practice leads them through the subtle layers of the mind, helping release the need to understand what comes next. Understanding is a function of the thinking mind. Trust is a function of the soul. As the energy body opens and the mind becomes quiet, trust becomes effortless. They begin to sense that what lies ahead is not new. It's the same presence they have always been revealing itself more clearly. In this clarity, they feel supported by invisible guides, ancestors, and loved ones who have already crossed the threshold. Their presence brings comfort and reassurance. They feel that they are joining a continuum, not falling into an abyss. They are rising into their own light, not disappearing from existence. This recognition dissolves their fear completely and supports a peaceful transition. As the energy body expands, they begin to feel the subtle shift from their identification with the physical body to identification with pure awareness. This shift is gentle, like a feather floating upward. The boundaries of the body soften, and awareness feels spacious, luminous, and weightless. They experience themselves not as a person moving into the unknown, but as the light of consciousness returning home. This realization brings deep peace. They feel the presence of the soul as a radiant field that supports them within. And this light, there is no fear, no confusion, no uncertainty, only an immense stillness that wakens them. The transition becomes not an ending, but an opening into a larger dimension of being. The imagery of merging into the light is not symbolic. It's literally the language of the soul. They are returning to the vast field of energetic consciousness from which all life arises. They become the sky rather than the cloud, the ocean rather than the wave. They rest in the infinite presence that has always been their true nature. Many people approach death with fear because they have not been taught how to let go from within. They have been taught to control life, holding on tightly and to identify with their body and personality. This meditation reverses this conditioning. It teaches them to soften, open, and release attachments gently. It prepares the energy body for transition so that the soul can lift out of the physical form with ease. A peaceful transition is not an accident. It is supported by the inner state of one who is crossing. If the mind is agitated, if the heart is burdened, if the energy body is tight with fear, the transition becomes difficult. If the mind is quiet and the heart is open and the energy body spacious, the transition becomes graceful. This meditation creates this grace. It dissolves the layers that keep them bound so they can return to the light that has always been theirs. This practice is a gift for any loved one nearing the end of life, and it is equally a gift for those who are supporting them. It offers a sacred doorway to understanding that death is not a loss but a return. It is not darkness but expansion. It is not an ending but a homecoming. Through this meditation, they discover the self they truly are, cannot die and never has. Only the temporary layers fall away, revealing the eternal presence of being. And for loved ones who remain after passing, I also created a companion meditation called Shakti Yoga Nidra, grieving the loss of a loved one. It has been bringing deep relief to those who are in mourning, especially those who lie awake at night, unable to quiet their thoughts or soothe their aching hearts. This practice helps them rest, helps the grief soften, and brings peace to the mind and nervous system when sleep feels impossible. If you like this talk and you would like to learn more about my Shakti Yoga Nidras, please like and subscribe to my channel, Shakti Talks, and thank you for watching.